So many folks. Appreciate you all making time to join us today. So my name is Mara Powell with Kentucky Youth Advocates. I'm our Chief External Affairs Officer here. And we're so eager and excited to be talking with you all today about the 2026 legislative session, which is well underway with lots of exciting moments already to be reflecting on and bills to discuss I'm getting lots of notifications here. Um, and so much more to hear what's going on in Frankfurt. We're also excited to share some Children's Advocacy Weeks updates with you all. And yeah, I'm going to be sharing my screen here in just a minute. And what our plan today, rather than a PowerPoint, is to share some websites and then our web pages on KYA's website as tools for you to be able to use and seeing those in action, because we really want you all to be equipped as advocates that you are all across the state representing kids, to be able to access those really easily and use those as you need them. So before we get started here, my colleagues Alicia and Jamie will be presenting today. We're going to go over some legislative updates, including some updates on some Blueprint for Kentucky's Children priorities. We are going to also hear just other Frankfurt updates, reflections there, ways that you can take action. And then Jamie is going to share that CAD preview with you all. So looks like our waiting room has slowed down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get sharing. And as you'll see on your screen too, want to give a shout out to some of you all on the call today too, to our sponsors. Thank you so much for sponsoring Children's Advocacy Week. And we'll have some links in the chat later if you're interested in becoming a sponsor. We have some information about that for you all. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Alicia Watley to give us a deep dive into what's going on in Frankfurt.
Thanks, Mara. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. As she said, my name is Alicia Watley, and I oversee our policy team and blueprint development here at Kentucky Youth Advocates. And so I'm going to take some time today to just kind of give you all a look into what's going on in Frankfurt. It's been a busy few weeks as they've started the session on January 6th. And so we are right now on day 10 of a 60-day legislative session. So still quite a while to go. They will wrap up in the middle of April this year. So we still have a couple of months of work that we're going to see happening in Frankfurt, but we wanted to take some time to tell you all where things sit right now, what's already happened and what we're looking forward to next. And so I think really to kick that off, we're going to take a few minutes to look around the Legislative Research Commission, or the LRC. And that is really where everything that you can find about Frankfurt and the legislative process is housed. So we're going to take a few minutes to look at that. Mara's just starting to share her screen so everyone will be able to see what we're looking at. To kind of walk you through how to find some of the information that we're talking about today. And then throughout the session, where to go to look for things as you want to take action and get involved on some of these items. So I think one of the first things that we want to highlight is this is the homepage that you'll see when you kind of first get there. And the URL for this, I think, is just legislature.ky.gov. If you search KY LRC on Google, this will come up. But this is kind of the homepage, and there's a lot of different functions and features and places to look here. But one of the easiest ways is to just scroll down as soon as you get to this homepage, and you will see that there are kind of like blocks right here in the middle, all these different rectangles that are just the go-to links during the legislative session. So some really easy ways to get to what you might be looking for. So you'll see things like the current bills that are being filed this session are on there, schedules and calendars, legislators that you can look up more information about them, things about all the committees that are meeting. And then there's various other sections that you can go to as well, but those are some of the main ones that you might want to look at. And then there's also a live coverage button there, which will tell you the links. It will take you to a different website, either KET or YouTube, to watch things live. But you can follow those links from that page as well. So the first thing that we wanted to point out is that if you have not taken a look at the schedules and calendars button, so Mara can click on that one first. and it will take you and show you everything about what's happening and what the schedules are during the legislative session. So over on the right hand side, you can see like the legislative calendar, which will tell you all the working days that they are going to be there in Frankfurt working throughout the session. Tells you when they're going to wrap up. It tells you when the last day to file bills in the House and the Senate is, and all that good stuff. So it just looks like a pretty standard calendar. There's not a whole lot to look at there, but if you're interested, you can check that out. One thing that will be helpful if you're looking to tune in to committees is over on the left-hand side under schedules. You'll see the 2026 standing committee calendar, and Mara's trying to get that open now. So this is what that looks like, and it splits this in half. On one half is the House and one half is the Senate, and then it's by day. So it will tell you in the Senate what day each committee meets and at what time they meet. And these are standing committee times. So every week they meet at the same time during the session. And so it's just a good thing to be on the lookout for if you're interested, for instance, in watching an education committee. You can kind of see when they generally meet and when you can tune into that. And then same thing with the health or the children and family services. So lots of different options there, but this just kind of gives you an idea of when the committees are meeting. And again, those meet weekly during the session. Um, and then if we want to go back one page, the other thing I wanted to take just a moment to look at was the legislators page. So we are, of course, always encouraging folks to make sure you know who your legislators are, your state senator and representative. And if you don't know who that is, there's a tool to look up who is your legislator. I think it's probably on this page right here. Who's my legislator? You just put in your address and it will tell you who your two people are. Um, and so maybe as an example, Mara, we could just go to any legislator's page, just pick one of them, and we'll show you kind of what their profile page looks like. I want to show you two things on here. So if Senator Robert Stivers was your senator, for instance, you could look at his profile page here. There's lots to learn about them. They have a small profile about themselves, usually some things that they've done, or maybe if they have another profession that they work, how long they've been there, and then it talks about what committees they sit on down there at the bottom, so you can see what committees they're in each week. On the right hand side towards the bottom, there's contact information, so how to get a hold of them. Their email address, if you want to send them an email, is also here. And then if we go up to those yellow goldish boxes right there, during the legislative session, one thing that you can look at is the sponsored bills. And I don't know. Yeah, that very top one. It's very small on my screen. There it is. So if you click on that on your legislator's page, you can see what bills your legislator has sponsored this session. So it will show you bills that they are the primary sponsor on and also bills that they are a co-sponsor on. So you can kind of get a sense of what they're working on, what they're interested in. And that's a really good tool to be able to see what your legislators are doing. And you can also see for previous sessions as well. But the 2026 regular session is where we are right now. So, that's just a little bit of kind of reminders and laying the groundwork for how to get engaged and where to find things as you're navigating the legislative session. And then I think the second part of this is we really wanted to take some time to talk through what's going on with bills that have been filed in Frankfurt. So, as I said, we are on day 10 of 60. So we still have a while to go. And we have, I believe, over 400 bills that have been filed already. So our team here at KYA is taking a look at every bill that gets filed to kind of see, does it have an impact on kids and families? What might that be? Picking out bills that are good for kids, and then highlighting the ones that meet our blueprint priorities. And so now Mara has gone to KYA's webpage. This might look familiar to you, and she's going to show you how to get to our bill tracker. So you're just going to go to policy and then to bill tracker. And this is a tool that hopefully you might want to bookmark during the session on your browser so that you can easily find this and follow along. It is continuously updated throughout the session. And it's organized by the first section you'll see are all the bills that are Blueprint for Kentucky's Children bills. So you'll see that logo over on the side, the Blueprint logo, and several bills are listed here. And then if we get down below this list, we have a lot already filed, which is great. And I'll go through these in detail in just a moment. You'll see these ones that are kind of in the grayish boxes there are other bills that we think are good for kids that we are supporting here at KYA. So that's just kind of how it's organized. You'll see also some separate logos for things like Bloom Kentucky or Face It. some of our initiatives that have policy agendas to highlight those bills as well. Um, and then over on the right-hand side, this page has some tools to sort and filter. And as we get further into the session, this might be more helpful as more bills are on this page. The list will get longer. And so you can sort and filter by lots of different things. You could look at just those blueprint legislative priorities, for instance. You could look by the policy priority, which are those initiatives Bloom or Face It or others. As those come up, we also have them listed by issue area. So if you want to look at all the health related bills on this page, you could sort by that. You could look at what's in the House versus what's in the Senate. And then the status as well, in terms of is it, kind of where they sit. Right now, there's only two statuses there, but as things continue to move, you'll see more options populate. So just want to point out some of the features that we have on this page to help you all navigate as you're looking through. Um, so now we're going to take just a few minutes to go through what's already been filed, kind of give you an overview of where we are with the session and what we're seeing, and then go over also what we're expecting to come next and some action items on how you can get involved on these issues. So as you can see on Mara's screen, and you all can follow along if you want to go to our bill tracker as well. I'm gonna quickly go through each of the blueprint priorities that we have filed and kind of highlight who, the bill number and any information that might be helpful about those. So the first one you'll see listed is House Bill 51, and this is from Representative Baker. And this is the bill to implement and create a way to assess proposed legislation using family impact statements. And so this bill is filed. You might be familiar if you follow legislation to what we call a fiscal impact statement. And our state already uses those to assess bills on how much they might cost to implement. And so this is a very similar idea where we would love to see our legislature taking a closer look on how proposed legislation bills that are being filed will impact kids and families. And so the Family Impact Statement Bill has been filed, like I said, House Bill 51, and that one has been assigned to the Family and Children's Committee. So that's what you'll see kind of outlined on the bill tracker there. And so for this first one, I'll give you the kind of the example of how this is formatted. You can click on the bill number and it will take you to the page that you can like read the actual bill itself. You could click on the fact sheet there to see our one pager on it and see more information and data around this topic. You can click on Representative Shane Baker's name to learn more about the person who filed this bill. The House Family and Children's Committee will take you to that page and it will show you which legislators sit on that committee. And then House Bill 51 is a Bloom priority, so you could also just click on Bloom and learn more about Bloom, Kentucky. So each of our bills that are on here have the same format where there's lots of resources and things that you can kind of click through and learn more. All right, so we'll go down to the next one is House Bill 102. And this is a bill that maybe sounds familiar to some folks. This has been filed for several years now. We've been working on this for quite some time. This is a Face It priority. And so this is from Representative Tipton. And this is the bill to make sure that kids are safe in their learning environments, and it protects students from the risk of sexual abuse by prohibiting non-disclosure agreements and related to misconduct between school faculty and students. And it also creates some appropriate disclosures and background checks and things like that as teachers are going through hiring processes, and also some training requirements within schools. So we're really excited to see that this is filed again, and it has been assigned to the House Primary and Secondary Education Committee. I'll go down to the next one is House Bill 114. And this is addressing one of our blueprint priorities to address diaper need in the state. And I'm going to mention a few bills here because we have a few that are also there's three different bills that are trying to address diaper need, but they are doing it slightly differently. So this bill would exempt baby and personal care products, which does include diapers, from the state sales tax. So it takes off some financial pressure from families who are purchasing diapers by removing the sales tax when they are purchasing. And this is from Representative Brown and Chester Burton, and it has been assigned to the House Appropriations and Revenue Committee. So that one is House Bill 114. And then I also want to highlight I think it's going to be just a bit further down. But Senate Bill 58 and House Bill 302 are companions, and that means that they're the same bill language that's filed in the House and the Senate. So two bills that look identical. In the Senate from Senator Chambers Armstrong, and in the House from Representative Grossell. And these bills also are looking to address diaper need, but what they will do is establish a diaper access fund, which is a fund that would be held at the state level. It can have appropriations from the General Assembly put into it. It can also have other contributions from, from other entities. And it would hold that money and then grant it out to entities who are helping to address diaper need in communities. So this could be community-based organizations that buy and distribute free diapers or other type of programs that are helping families access clean diapers. So again, it is slightly different than the one that we mentioned above, which was House Bill 114 with exempting diapers from sales tax. This one is trying to grant out money to help with diaper need across the state. So we have those filed as well. And then the next one I'll mention here is again, we have companion bills in the House and Senate. So House Bill 187 and Senate Bill 74. And both of these bills are addressing youth nicotine dependence. And they are just directing settlement funds from the Juul settlement, which Kentucky's been receiving money from for a few years, towards youth tobacco and nicotine prevention and cessation programming. So we know that there is still a huge need out there for young people to have access to both prevention and also cessation programming from nicotine for vaping and also related products. And the Juul settlement has been coming into the state for a few years and it is not currently being directed anywhere. And so these bills are just taking that money that is already coming into the state and directing it towards those programs. And this bill in the House has been assigned to the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. So we'll be keeping an eye on both of those. As I said, they're companions. Um, then we will go to House Bill 338. And this is coming from Representative Witten. And this comes out of some discussions that have been happening in our General Assembly for quite some time around housing, affordability and stability in our state. And so one of the ways that we are looking to address this is by making some changes to the eviction process so that folks are not unnecessarily having barriers to getting into safe housing. And so this bill would do two things. The first thing it does is it would ensure that any evictions that are dismissed during the court process and do not result in a full eviction are expunged from the record of those people so that it does not create a barrier in the future for them. And then the second part of this is to make sure that we don't have minors being named on eviction filings, because unfortunately, if you are named even as a minor in an eviction, then you then carry that record forward with you, and there's not currently any way to expunge that. So we want to make sure that minors are not being named on those filings, and then if they are improperly named, that their name is expunged from the record. So that bill, like I said, has been filed by Representative Susan Witten, and it is House Bill 338. Um, all right, so the next one we have here is House Bill 377. This also comes from Representative Susan Witten. And this bill is in regard to utility disconnection protections. And so it outlines some procedures and requirements for utility companies to adopt standards around what like protections for their customers if there is extreme weather. So that is extreme hot, extreme cold, or also natural disasters, to make sure that don't see people having their utilities disconnected during those incidents. And so this bill has been filed in the past, and it is refiled again in the House this year. And then along with that, I will also mention at the same time Senate Bill 88. And these are slightly different, but they are trying to address the same problem. So Senate Bill 88 is from Senator Chambers Armstrong, and it is also related to disconnection of utilities during extreme weather. But rather than defining what the protections are in the statute, this bill just requires utility companies to have a policy in place, and then those have to be made public and also reported to the Public Service Commission, which oversees our utilities across the state. And so it creates some standardization around transparency of those policies and making sure that consumer protections um, are public for folks to be able to access that. So again, both of those are addressing utility disconnections during extreme weather. They're just slightly different in how they're approaching it. Um, okay, and then we will go to Senate Bill 14, and this is from Senator Deneen. And this bill is to ensure that state employees have access to paid maternity leave. So we are really excited to see that this has been filed. There's already some movement in the state around this from an executive order from a couple years ago around executive branch employees having some access to paid family leave. So this bill would establish that for all state employees and also make sure that it is more regularly available as folks are welcoming new additions to their family. So Senate Bill 14 has not yet been assigned, but we are awaiting the committee assignment for that one. And then we've already mentioned the clean diapers. And I believe, Senate Bill 83 is very similar to the one that I mentioned above around eviction filings and not naming minors on evictions. This one just comes from Senator Neal. So very similar to Representative Witten's bill. But that one is also filed. And then the last one mentioned is the utilities that I already talked about. So that was quite a list, but very exciting to see how many blueprint bills have been filed. We're well on our way to having all of our priorities being talked about in the legislature, which is great. Um, and so with that, I will go over just highlighting a couple of other ones that are on our bill tracker. I'm not going to go through every single one of these bills that we think are good for kids that we're following and really excited about. But you can take a closer look and kind of learn more about all these bills as well from this webpage. So the first one I wanted to mention what is House Bill 4. And we were excited to see that this got a really low bill number. A lot of times those first 10 bills in each chamber, so bills 1 through 10 on each side are considered priority. So as House Bill 4, we do think that this is probably being prioritized in the House this year. And this is from Representative Proctor. And it is related to grooming and defining grooming of a minor as a criminal offense and outlining kind of procedures for that. So we were excited to see this, and this is also listed as a face it priority. Um, and then another one we wanted to highlight is this one's on the move. It's going to be in committee this week, so it's moving along pretty quickly, is House Bill 281. And this is from Representative Duval. And it's related to food donations. And so it just exempts some food donors, such as nonprofits or religious organizations, from some of the rules around this to make it a little bit easier, especially during a natural disaster or other like big event in a community, to be able to more efficiently distribute food to community members when they need it. And so this is one that's been filed for a couple of years, and like I said, that will be heard actually in the House Agriculture Committee this week. Um, One other one that I wanted to highlight is Senate Bill 81. I think it's the last one on the list there, Mara. Yep. And this is from Senator Chambers Armstrong. Um, and this is a bill to establish a child tax credit for Kentucky taxpayers. So we know that child tax credits historically can have a really big financial impact on families and really help support families who are, especially those who are lower income. And so this is a proposal to establish a tax credit of up to $1,000 per qualifying child for individuals within a certain income level. So wanted to make sure and highlight that one as well. So I'm gonna stop there on going over specific bills. I know that that was a lot and there's a lot of bill numbers there, but again, this page should be an easy way for you all to navigate and kind of come back and find these bills. And before I go too much further, I'm gonna see if I can get the chat pulled up because it was not previously, and make sure that there were no questions just yet. I don't think I see any. Mara, yell at me if we see a question or if anybody has a hand up or anything like that. Um, so one of the other things that we wanted to talk a little bit about and just kind of give folks an idea of where it sits is the budget process in Kentucky. So every 2 years in Kentucky, every even year, 2026 is an even year. So we have a budget year. So that's why we have the longer 60-day session. And part of what our legislators are going to be tasked with before April 15th is to come up with the next 2 year state budget. So there's a lot to think about, a lot that goes into that. And it's a pretty long process. So we wanted to give you all an idea of what's already happened and what's coming next as we look at the state budget. So really one of the first things that generally happens is during the interim, so this is already done, but most of the departments and state offices, cabinets, things like that, do presentations and talk to our committee members about their own budgets, what they need to run their programs, how it's going, if they need increases and where. So they kind of get a baseline of what the current operations look like and what might be needed. And then also a lot of folks will come and testify in front of committees about maybe one-time investments, what they are looking for the state to invest dollars in. So that has already happened, of course, during the interim, which is from June till December. So our legislators have had several months to start crafting a budget and really thinking about what needs to go into it. And just a couple of weeks ago, during the first week of the legislative session, the governor hosted the State of the Commonwealth address. And during that, that was sort of his release of a governor's proposed budget. And so that details what the governor is recommending should be included for all the state, for the executive branch and all the other offices, where investments should go. But it certainly is not the end of the conversation. So the next step is for a budget bill to originate in the House. So we do not yet have kind of what we consider the big budget bill in the House. It is probably coming in the next week or two. So we're keeping a close eye on that and just waiting for to kind of see that language. And our team will be analyzing what's in that budget, maybe what is excluded that we would like to see added in, and give us an idea of where the priorities are of our legislators. So that is pending. It's not out yet. I'm sure we will have some communication and outline to advocates shortly after that is released, the next week or two. And after that bill is filed, there will be lots of committee hearings. They'll kind of look at specific pieces. They will talk about this at length, and then the Senate will also get to weigh in and talk about what changes they would like to see. They'll put forth kind of their version marked up of what the House put out. And then members of the Senate and House will come together over the next couple of months into a conference committee and kind of negotiate and hammer out the final details of what's going to be in that budget before the end of the session. So lots to still come there. We are watching closely, and we'll certainly put out updates as we know more. And then a couple other things that we are just kind of watching for that we know are probably coming based on the trends that we're seeing in Frankfurt and what our team has been watching. Of course, we are looking for any bills and proposals that are directly going to be impacting kids and families. And that kind of spans all the sectors. It could be lots of different things and look lots of different ways. And we pay special attention when there are bills that impact our vulnerable populations or folks who are disproportionately impacted on different things. So we're going to be looking at how do bills impact children of color or low income groups or rural versus urban kids and families. So those are some of the things that our team is really looking out for, and we'll try to put out information to advocates as we know more about proposals. And as I said, this bill tracker page will be updated pretty continually, so just keep an eye on that to learn more about what's out there. We also know that there are some priorities from our legislature based on task forces and committees that have been happening throughout the interim. So a couple of those to highlight are that for the second year in a row, we've had a housing task force here in the Commonwealth. And as I said earlier, our legislators are really looking at housing affordability, accessibility. Is it stable and safe for folks to find housing? And so that task force has been meeting for really 2 years now. But during the interim, they met and put out some recommendations. So we are definitely expecting more focus on housing. this year. And then we're also looking at what might be coming out of the Make America Healthy Again task force that they had here in Kentucky. And so, the Make America Healthy Again movement nationally has a lot of different areas that they're looking at and covering when it comes to children's health. Here in Kentucky, our task force really zeroed in on nutrition. And so we are expecting to see some focused legislation being proposed around nutrition. And that might mean nutrition in schools, accessibility of fresh and healthy foods for communities, and also things like the SNAP program that folks rely on for nutritious foods. So we're going to be looking out for those things, keeping a close eye out. And then as we think about the budget, I think there's a lot of spaces where the national changes that have happened over the past year are going to be impacting Kentucky's budget because federal dollars have changed. And so SNAP is certainly on that list that we're paying attention to, and then also Medicaid to kind of see what happens with health coverage for our kiddos and low income folks across the state. So we'll be watching closely for those things as well. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on before I pass it over to Jamie is really to give you all some ideas on how to start taking action on these items. So I just put a lot in front of you as far as like what's going on in Frankfurt, what kind of bills we're seeing filed, lots of good things happening, but what can you do to get involved? Um, and so we do have a lot of this outlined on our webpage. We have an action alerts. Is that what's very small? Yeah, action alerts page. And Mara just pulled that up for you all to kind of see. And again, this is going to be continually updated with all the new bill numbers that have come out as things are kind of moving in Frankfurt. But some of our kind of big takeaways here are we are always encouraging folks to call your own legislators or email them or reach out to voice your support for the blueprint bills and the bills that are good for kids. So, taking a look at the bills that we have outlined here, there is a short blurb on the bill tracker of like, what does the bill do? We also have a fact sheet on all of the blueprint bills. So if you would love some more information or talking points on those, we have those available for folks. But this is a really simple way to voice support and tell your legislator that you support these bills, think that they're good for kids, and you would love to see their support as well. Um, and then we have several bills that have been assigned to a committee. And so the next step for those bills that have already been assigned to a committee is to get a hearing in that committee. And so one of the things that I would encourage folks to do is take a moment. At the beginning, we were on the LRC webpage and we showed you how to look up committees and like how to kind of pay attention to that. On the bill tracker page is also an easy way to, if a bill is assigned to a committee, you can click on the committee straight from there. But take a look at the members of those committees. It will tell you every legislator's name who is on that committee. And if your legislator is somebody who sits on a committee, for instance, on the Family and Children's Committee, it would be a great opportunity to call them or email them and say, hey, I really support this bill. And I see that it's assigned to your committee. I would love for you all to hear this. So again, voicing your support and also encouraging them to take some action by helping to get it heard in committee. Um, and another thing that is outside of legislative engagement, but can really help us get momentum behind bills that we are supporting, is to think about your own network. Who do you know who is in your county or maybe outside of your county in a different legislative district who might be interested in engaging on these bills? Who maybe doesn't know about them, is not currently following us, or you could fill them in on what these bills do and why they're good for kids. And so we would encourage you to reach out to your legislators and also reach out to your own networks and get other folks to do the same. So thinking about how they could engage, can they call their legislator, especially if they're in a different district? But even if they're in the same district as you, that's great for both of you to call. So that is kind of my last plug about what to be doing and what to be thinking about as advocates around these issues. And then I will just remind you that you can bookmark these pages on your browser if you would like to come back to them and kind of keep an eye on them throughout the session. So I will take a break from talking. I know that was a lot. Feel free to continue to put any questions in the chat and I'll try to answer those as Jamie is going through. But I'm going to turn it over to Jamie to tell us a little bit about Children's Advocacy Week this year.
Yes, thank you, Alicia, for all of those great insights. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Garth, and I'm on the External Affairs team at KYA. And I wanted to take a few minutes to preview Children's Advocacy Week and share what advocates can expect this year. So, right off the bat, things look a little different in 2026, but there are still meaningful ways to engage and make an impact. The biggest change is that the Capitol is largely closed due to construction, and because of that, we will not be hosting a large public rally this year. That being said, advocacy is still very much happening. So even without a big rally, there are still strong opportunities to connect with youth advocates, legislators, and fellow advocates, both virtually and in Frankfurt. Children's Advocacy Week is still about using your voice, building relationships with lawmakers as well. I think the most important thing advocates can do during this week is to set up meetings with their legislators, which Alicia has already talked about. Those meetings can happen on March 4th or anytime during the week, either virtually or in person. All right. We do encourage advocates to call their legislator's office directly. And when you call, let them know that you're a constituent and that you'd like to meet with them as a part of Children's Advocacy Week. And of course, to support you, Mara has already pulled up um, those links. We have step-by-step tips and guidance available on our advocacy page. And actually, what we're looking at right now is our Children's Advocacy Week landing page. So all the information is right there. Okay, so now moving on to an overview of the week. Our Children's Advocacy Week officially kicks off on Monday, March the 2nd. That afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be hosting a Blueprint webinar, which serves as both a policy overview and our call kickoff or celebration. All right. And I'm going to skip over to Wednesday really quickly. On Wednesday, that's our Children's Advocacy Day at the Capitol. We hope that you can watch the town hall on Kids at 10 a.m. That will be streamed live on KYGA's Facebook page. And this town hall is going to feature remarks from state leaders, advocates, and youth highlighting policies and priorities that are shaping the future of kids in Kentucky. Additionally, if you happen to be in Frankfurt, please drop by the Policy and Play for Children's Advocacy Day event in the Capitol Annex. Here, we're going to be bringing legislators and advocates together through policy-inspired games that encourage conversation and connection on our Blueprint priorities. So as you can see on this page, throughout the week, advocates have different multiple ways to stay engaged, to learn more, and to connect with policymakers and other advocates, whether that's with a scheduled legislator meeting, tuning into a committee meeting in Frankfurt or online, or calling and emailing your state senator or representative to urge them to vote yes on bills that are good for kids. Again, we want to thank all of our sponsors for being able to make this week possible and ensure that advocates and youth voices continue to be elevated. There's still sponsorship opportunities available for our partner organizations. So we hope that you check into that and see how you can also support Children's Advocacy Week this year. But I'm going to pass it over to Mara to close this out.
All right. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Alicia, for walking us through the day, or well, through the session, and then through what to expect for Children's Advocacy Week and Children's Advocacy Day at the Capitol. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I have been dropping links in the chat so that you can hopefully explore those links as you need to. All right, here we go. And we'll also be sending a follow-up email with all of these details, of course, and posting this as a recording on our webpage so that you can share this with any other folks who may be interested. So though, Children's Advocacy Week and Day will look different this year, like Jamie said, there's still lots of ways in which, we can still achieve our mission as advocates and still raise our voice for kids, right? So I think that's the goal that we're always trying to get at with Children's Advocacy Week is how can we elevate youth voice and issues that are impacting our kids and families across the state. And so we hope, though there's not a big gathering this year, and maybe for a couple of years that we're understanding because of the Capitol construction, there's still ways in which we can still plug in, connect, and advocate for kids. So We appreciate you all joining today. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. Check those out on the webpage. Our signature sponsor is Aetna, and we appreciate their support for many years now of Children's Advocacy Week and other efforts here at KYA. So many thanks. If there's not any additional questions, I think we will leave it there, and we look forward to connecting with you all throughout the session. Please reach out to any of us, either on the screen or our policy team if you have specific questions about any of the bills discussed today, or about Children's Advocacy Week. And if you're hoping to join us, we hope to see you on March 4th in Frankfurt. Thank you all.